No interviews? It's probably not because of your sequel. In healthcare analytics, you'll get rejected fast if your resume does not signal trust, impact, and fit in the first 10 to 30 seconds of people skimming it. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down 7 mistakes that can get you auto-rejected or get you to burn out, and the simple fixes that will make your resume read like you already understand how healthcare works. Here is a hidden filter in healthcare. It's not that they're only asking if you can do SQL, but they're also asking, will you accidentally break something that's expensive, regulated, and audited? So if you want to get interviews, your resume needs to signal 3 things fast. It needs to signal what we mentioned already: trust, impact, and fit with the role that you're applying for. If you nail those 3, you'll get callbacks. If you miss one, you're going to get ghosted. And it's also why referrals help you cut the line, because it's an internal referral gets trusted more than an outside applicant, because the stats back this up. Referrals are 10 to 30% less likely to quit, 25% more profitable in settings where it can actually be measured, and tend to be outperformers according to Columbia Business School. So getting an internal referral is obvious advice. So we're not just going to give that advice. We're going to start with mistake number 1. Mistake number 1 is going to be leading with tools instead of outcome. And what I mean by this is you lead with tools instead of what the work is actually for. In healthcare analytics, your tools are not your identity, your outcome lens is, and the impact that you bring. So what you want to do is you want to show it in 4 main areas of different outcomes and impact. It's going to be in revenue. It's going to be in quality, speed, and also safety. You can also think of this more as compliance as well. You want to pick one main lens and theme so that you have that outcome instead of just saying the specific tool that you're using. Having the impact is going to matter more, whether it's revenue protection, quality measures improved, operational speed, or compliance safety. Your top bullets need to have this theme and this impact already obvious. Otherwise, everyone else has those tools, but everyone else doesn't have the different impacts and outcomes that you have created. Now, that brings us to mistake number 2. No obvious data exposure or workflow exposure. So even if people do have data exposure, healthcare data exposure especially, and workflow exposure within healthcare, I've helped a lot of people where they just don't make it easy to find. And when recruiters, hiring managers, and people who are reviewing resumes to see who gets the next line or the next application, next step, it's going to be important because it could be missed if it's hidden deep inside your experience resume bullets or just somewhere else. So hiring managers can't tell what healthcare data you touch. So they're just going to assume that you haven't. You just don't have that workflow experience. You don't have that healthcare knowledge. So one of the things that you want to do is show what you've done. What data and workflows do you understand? Do you understand claims, eligibility, prior authorization, appeals and grievances, encounters, formulary, same as STAR, HCC, risk adjustments. Look at all the data that you've touched and then circle the 5 that are closest to the job. One of the things that I tend to do and recommend with people that's gotten them results is at the top of your resume where you have your job application title. What I tend to do is underneath the resume headline. So here, healthcare data analyst, expert healthcare data analyst, where that first title underneath for SEO purposes for search engine, treat all of these ATS systems and places you're applying to like search engines. So what you want to do is you also want to place the keywords there for the search engine for when people are searching for those specific keywords, especially when you get into the database for future applications and people when they're looking to hire and fill. You also want to make it for people who are skimming, hiring managers, people who are going to be interviewing you, and recruiters who are seeing if you're going to make the next step. So one of the things that I've done is you can place it underneath that headline title. So then in the specific data that I've touched, it's more obvious because data is inside the title, but you can also say, you can add fillers in here. You can put data, workflows. So then I will put whatever is the most important to the job that I'm applying for. If it's for if it's for CMS Star for Medicare, then I will put CMS Star here. And then I would reorder that depending on what job I'd be applying for. This way, it's extremely obvious that all of this nuanced Part C and Part D Medicare experience I have. So then the recruiter can just go through and then they automatically see it, the hiring managers too, and then they know that I have experience there. And then you can say workflow experience, you can have data experience if you want to add the qualifier here as well. And then just leave that at the top, and it just makes it easier for people to understand when they're skimming. Now, mistake number 3 is going to be diving deeper into impact, and it's talking about weak impact language. So now that you start to use better impact, what I tend to find when reviewing people's and redoing people's resumes is it starts to be weak. It's better than not having it, like earlier, but now you need to start improving it. And 2 of the frameworks that I personally use is going to be C.A.T, and C.A.T is, the C stands for context, the A is action, and then the T is translation. And basically, the context is going to be any of the background. I use C.A.T for interviews when I get to explain more, so I get to tell more about the story, the background, how important was it, what were the dependencies, was it escalated? So I get to tell more and fill out that background. You can think of it as a story, the beginning, middle, and the end. But context, you want to make sure that you have the problem in here. Now, action is going to be what are the actions and the steps that you took to resolve that business problem. And then translation is what was ultimately the impact that you drove to the business. And again, like we talked about earlier, you have those 4 different places: revenue, time saved, safety and compliance, and then any efficiency and speed. Now, the other one that I like, and I use Google XYZ for making it for more concise bullets when you need to have it inside your resume and you don't have much room to work with. The way that Google XYZ works is the formula is you accomplished X as measured by Y by doing Z. So it'll make more sense soon. But Google XYZ comes from Google recruiters who say if you follow this formula, you have a higher chance of getting hired. Because it makes it so that the resume, your experience, and what you've done, it condenses it into something small and concise but easy to understand. So here is an example of a before and after. So a before, where it has decent impact or decent resume bullet, it would be improved SQL measure logic, deployed a live Power BI performance dashboard, and automated Python-based provider education workflows. So it's basically what they do. This is what we tend to see people do. But when you apply XYZ, you'll see after raise CMS star from 3.05 to 4.09 in 1 year by refactoring SQL measure logic, deploying a live Power BI performance dashboard, and automating Python-based provider education workflows. So here, this first part is going to be what you accomplished. This is the X as measured. This is the Y. And then this is the rest of it. This is all of the Z. So that's how you can just make it so that your bullets and your impact are much better. Next, mistake number 4, and I'm sorry, I run into this more often than you think, is dashboards are confusing because people will show dashboards and they'll just have a bunch of tabs, have a bunch of things, charts, but they don't really explain what changed. What is the impact? Why are these charts created? They could make them look pretty, but then they don't add any of the context. They don't add any numbers. It could be hours, 6 hours, weeks saved, or money protected. So what you want to do is what I tend to see. I'm using this example, this paid media dashboard example by Channel Mix. It's on their public, it's on public Tableau. What you tend to see is just this right side by people, which isn't bad. You see this right side. They'll have the graphs, they'll have the different tables, and then it's helpful information. But what people tend to miss out are these KPIs, key performance indicators, the metrics that need tracking, and the reason why we have dashboards. You get to see it right away. And then what I also see tend to not happen is these descriptions where there's just like 2 lines or a few sentences that describe what they do. You'll be surprised of how many times I've reviewed things and you won't see this. Here is also where you can place more of the impact because it's going to be going into your portfolio. You can place the C.A.T, you can place the Google XYZ here is over a year how you improve things through the use of this dashboard. And who uses it? Was it the operations team? Is it customer service? Is it upper management? Is it the CEO? How often do they use it? And then what decisions and impact did it drive and create as a result of this? You could place that here. You can make a executive summary in this whole part underneath the media dashboard. And then everything else supports that dashboard. So adding that context and making sure that your dashboards aren't confusing is another place that people tend to miss. Mistake number 5 is going to be using AI like a slot machine. Here is how most people are using AI for their job search. They are just going to copy their resume, put into AI, and then they'll just paste it back into their template, their workbook or wherever, and then you not do anything else. Just pray that the output is good enough. And it can be good, but AI can hallucinate, or if it's not given enough context, the prompt isn't good enough. You don't set the role. It won't be as good as it could have been if you just took out the time to make it a better prompt. So that's why you'll see more people use AI to create better bullets, but it'll come out more generic because everyone's starting to use AI. So it'll all start to sound similar. AI is not magic. It's going to be a mirror. Weak inputs will give you weak outputs. So what AI needs. So if you want AI to write a strong resume, give it context, give it that job description, give it your base resume, give it your projects, your facts list. This is going to be everything from your key achievements to your experiences, what you've done on the job, every information that could be relevant in ways to tweak your resume to better match job descriptions that you're applying for. You want to add it there because you want to give it enough context so it doesn't invent tools, numbers, or experience that you don't have. Here are also some simple prompt rules. Tell it what role it is. So ask it to be an elite resume copywriter and elite tech recruiter. You also want to tell it what output you want. So again, give it the job description, and then I need you to give me the full resume, or what's better is AI is better at very targeted, smaller tasks. So tell them that this is for my experience for this company. Redo my resume bullets so that it sounds impressive for this job description. Then you can also ask for 3 versions: conservative, balanced, and aggressive, but make sure to stay truthful. And then you can select based on that. And also double check your work and don't hallucinate any work that I haven't done. And then keep iterating and work with it and treat it like you're a really smart intern that just needs a little bit more direction and feedback so that you can get the best prompt and the best output for your resume. Now, on top of this, if you start to use AI, it can feel like you're going to burn out if you start to customize things too much. So mistake number 6 is going to be time spent customizing resumes. Because what most people tend to do is they either don't do any customization, so they just use the same resume for everything, or they rewrite it for everything. And that wastes a lot of time, but it could be helpful, but you tend to burn yourself out. So here is a better system. We are going to create, this is a trick question, it's 4 base resumes for healthcare. I tend to break this up by these categories. If I'm applying to payer roles, so that's going to be the insurance side, typically the insurance side, or anyone who pays for the health insurance claims. The provider side, you can break this down by the subsection if there's different clinics, different specialties that you're applying for. You also have the vendor side, and then any other specialties within your niche. Mine would have to be PBMs. This would be the pharmacy and pharmaceutical side. What you're going to do here is you're going to create one base resume per employer bucket that you're going to be applying for. Each base resume only changes 3 areas. It's going to be your summary, your top 6 bullets and relevant experience bullets, and also your skill order or the way that you order your projects. And then everything else is going to stay the same mostly. And then here's also a key that I use. You're going to use the base resumes for most of the roles that you're not excited about. So that's going to be your volume. You just apply to all the ones where you're like, oh, I wouldn't mind getting this job for the experience. But then you only do deep customizations for the roles that interest you and for the roles that you really want, or the roles where you have a great shot at getting. So basically, there's going to be 3 tiers that you're going to be looking at. The first one is going to be where you create the deep customization, light, and then the third one is just base. So that's how you're going to be able to apply to a lot more without turning your life into resume rewriting and then hating life because you're just doing some mundane work for some roles that you don't even actually care about. Now, that brings us to one of the biggest mistakes that I see when people are applying into healthcare analytics is healthcare experience. This is one of the biggest ones that's killing people, is because they have no healthcare experience when the job requirements require healthcare experiences. So they get filtered out before a human ever sees them. So it's having no healthcare experience. There are ways around this filter, or what you can do if you have no healthcare experience. First is if you already have strong analytics experience. I've seen people transition from other industries when they already are doing analytics experience. So you have equal or more years of analytics experience, you can often replace the healthcare requirement as long as you have a good fit of your skills into what the hiring manager needs. But you have to make that transition and that equivalency obvious. So messy operational data, regulated environment, cross-functional reporting, exceptions, audit, root cause. You have to show the links between your previous industry to where you're moving into healthcare. Now, the second way that you can bypass healthcare experience is if you have an internal referral. And again, internal referrals, it changes the risk math because the stats are more aligned with internal referrals. And there's a whole bunch of reasons why HR tends to favor referrals, just because academic backed studies and business studies show that referrals are better internal hires in general. And then the third one is the one that people skip, is get the experience. So actually going out there and getting healthcare experience. But sometimes you can't quit your day job to get the healthcare experience. So one of the things that people skip out on as well is thinking about getting micro healthcare experience. So there are plenty of roles where you can work on the weekend or after work. So you can do weekend clinics, late night hospitals, small vendors, upcoming startups, nonprofit, volunteer work. So there's clinics that are open on weekends, hospitals operate late at night, smaller healthcare vendors, nonprofits always need help with reporting, and then you can always volunteer a few hours a week, get one real healthcare output and deliverable on a real process that is transferable. And then now you'll stop getting auto rejected, and then you'll be able to start getting healthcare experience on your resume and then start applying. So this is just one way to make sure you actually get the healthcare experience. So if you want help getting hired in healthcare analytics and stop guessing what counts and start building real healthcare outputs that teams recognize, that's exactly what we're doing inside the healthcare analyst lab, a supportive community and a step-by-step playbook for getting into healthcare analytics. It's free right now. Just apply, and if you're accepted, you'll be part of the founding group that's giving me feedback on how to build the community and the program before it goes live to the public. So apply in the link description below. Hope to see you inside. Thank you for watching, and until next time, query responsibly and watch this video on the harsh truth of data analytics.